Hello YouTube, this is Dakota from Bowtied Media, and today we've got a brand new installment of This Week in EDM, where we go over songs that came out, well, this week in EDM. As always, there is a Spotify link down below for all the songs and easy access listening, and as always, this is just my opinion. Do not take them as gospel truth. So let's hop into it. Starting us off in the trash category is Whales with Rise. Hey, I love me some Whales tracks. But what even is this thing? Like, seriously, this was, is this an honest attempt at making a song, a pleasing song? The verse section and the vocals are actually pretty fine, but those drops are just absolutely ridiculous. I refuse to believe the song isn't a meme of some kind. It's just straight noise. I don't get it. I don't know what's happening with the song.
You told me I was crazy, baby, but you knew I was right.
Then we got Steve Aoki and Tyler Hubbard with Forget Tonight. Very forgettable country pop track with a house beat underneath it all. The lyricism is boring and incredibly cliche, the beat is nothing special, and the mixing is quite flat. I wouldn't even bother with this track. Then, heading into the bad category, we've got Martin Jensen featuring Sami, Brielle, Hektor, and Carrie Keller with Yes Please from the new Hypebeast EP. This flavor of party-forward and in-your-face narratives are way too on the nose for me, and I find them not only uninteresting, but actively bad. And this song is just a giant, yes please, I'll have that, with whatever main stage beat behind it. Ina and Rehab with I'll Be Waiting. A very boring commercial deep house track that just offers so little to engage with. Nothing about this track is really exciting nor intriguing. Then we got DJ Snake featuring Bipolar Sunshine with Paradise. An incredibly basic pop trap cut with a serious lack of energy or oomph. I love Bipolar Sunshine himself, but with the tired beat behind, it's not really doing him any favors here. Then heading into the meh category, we've got Mike Posner with Cooler Than Me, the Getter remix. Cooler Than Me was a classic tune from my childhood and one of the first pop songs I really loved. And it's weird that we're getting a remix package for the song a decade and a half after its original release, but yeah, this Getter remix is very typical classic Getter, and sadly I just never loved that sound to begin with, so this one was a miss for me. Avicii featuring Elle King with Let's Ride Away. Very underwhelming track that quite honestly doesn't really feel like an Avicii tune. The melody, the pace of the track, I think this one should have just stayed in the vault, honestly. No reason to re-release this other than just to push this new Avicii Forever compilation, which I also feel like doesn't need to be released. We got Paper Skies featuring Micah Martin and Janet Thung with By My Side. Really glad to see Paper Skies on Monster Cat, and I've typically been a huge fan of his, but this label debut just didn't land for me. This rigid, future rhythm style was too harsh, and at times the kind of swung percussion work made the track really hard to listen to, I think. Then we got Kompany with Usurper. While Kompany has been pretty hit or miss for me as of late, this one lands kind of just right in the middle. It's got a crushing rhythm production that's not overly harsh, but still doesn't offer much outside of a heavy beat. Then we got ARMNHMR featuring Liv Miraldi with Keep You Safe. A typical melodic dubstep cut from ARMNHMR with generic lyricism and a pretty vanilla drop. Nothing we haven't heard before. Then we got Axwell featuring CARMA with Until the Lights Go Out. I loved everything up until the actual drop hit, and then the track kind of fell into some pretty cliche stutter house tropes. The mixing felt a little flatter on the drops even, and the dynamicism from those verse sections kind of just got sucked away somehow. Then we got Diplo featuring Artemas with Brain. A fine house tune from Diplo that's pretty bouncy and catchy, but otherwise doesn't really do a whole ton. Then we got got Riot with Hurricane. First real miss from these singles leading into whatever this album's going to be, but yeah, I didn't really care for the vocals, and I thought the snares were way too hot in the mix, and I just don't think that this is Riot at their best in their modern form. Then we got Andrew Bayer with I Don't Want You. A pretty typical main stage trance cut from Andrew Bayer that has some uplifting elements, but is otherwise fairly safe when it's all said and done. Then we got S.G. Lewis with Back of My Mind. A throwback-ish Eurotrance track with vocals that are pretty buried, and that's kind of part of its charm, honestly, though. But in the end, I found it was a little generic and lacking the kind of classic S.G. Lewis funk. Then we got Dr. Ozzy with Tarantino. Lots of Quentin Tarantino movie soundtrack snippets here and there over a fairly typical stuttering bro-step production. Didn't really scratch that itch for me in the end, as it was a touch too sporadic at times for my personal liking. Then we got Malaa with Suspect. A fine bass house tune, but one that really doesn't offer much variety within the main drop movements, making it a pretty stale track in the end, despite the production being fairly strong. Then we've got the John Summit remix of Silence, originally by Delerium and Sarah McLachlan. Yeah, the original track here is the same age as I Am, so I'm not really sure why we are getting a John Summit remix of this now, but hey, it's not bad and does indeed hit that wave of nostalgia for me. You can definitely tell the mixing of this track is straight out of the 90s, and John Summit must have intentionally left it as is, but that does also neuter the impact of the kind of big synth sustains a fair amount. A fine remix in the end. Then hopping into the good category, we've got Whipped Cream with You Don't Just Wanna Die. Whipped Cream with a very unique track by her standards, going for a heady track with big organ-like chords and a fast-paced four-on-the-floor type beat. The vocal sample used was solid, and I think this brand of Whipped Cream is actually something I could really easily get behind. Then we've got Sophie Tucker and Lineker with Intensity from the new Butter LP reissue comp remix. I don't really know what to call the whole thing, but yeah, Intensity is really the only original track here, and it's the most kind of, for the, I don't know, a fine Latin pop cut with a carefree tone and production. Nothing crazy, but a pleasing little tune. Then we got the Fat Rat and Shia Maisel with Genius. I hate to say it, but the Fat Rat songs that don't sound like typical The Fat Rat are easily his best. This track is a more vocally driven electropop cut that just works fairly well. The vocals are solid, the simple melody is an earworm, and the progression really ramps up at the end here. Then we've got Kirby, AC Slater, and Big Wet with Psycho. A club-focused bass house cut is as expected from this triple collab, and I think it did land quite well. Nothing overly fantastical or whimsical, but a solid by-the-numbers track that will always bring energy to the dance floor. Then we've got Temanite and Boom Kitty with Danger. Another crushing tune from these two that is absolutely perfect for something like Beat Saber. Maybe a little too intense for a regular listen, but as a soundtrack song even, it's pretty great. Then we've got ILLENIUM and Hala with In My Arms. ILLENIUM tackling some more trap, which is something we haven't really heard from him since his debut record, really. And yes, it still does very much have that melodic dubstep feel to it as well. Hala's vocals are fantastic as always, and I thought the song was fairly solid, all things considered, but nothing crazy. A solid modern ILLENIUM cut. Then we got Aura with Louder. Trap in its modern, truest form. No nonsense, no real added spice other than that analog sounding synth melody. Just pure trap bliss. Then we got Pluko and Juka with Talk to Me. A really quick track that is just over 100 seconds in length, but Pluko and Juka really jam a lot into this with great stuttering, future-based production. One of those short songs that just works. P. Giobbi and Mescolo with Loud Enough. A very relaxing house track that has a constant funky groove to the whole thing with a strong bass line and constant vocal chanting. Just a solid track that's not too exciting on paper, but brilliant in execution. We got Cloud None with Unfair from the new Rebirth EP. Cloud None doing Cloud None things with an atmospheric garage track with snappy percussion and a moody tone. Solid Cloud None through and through, with this particular flavor of garage from him, one I really resonate with. Then we got Said the Sky and Jessica Bao with How to Say Goodbye. Pretty solid new Said the Sky that takes things back to a more future-based style, albeit still very commercial-leaning. But these last couple tracks have been pretty great, and I'm excited for what else he's got cooking in the future. Then we got Mode Step with Body Bag. This is the moody dubstep I love from Mode Step. The perfect amount of clean production and crunch. And I was a major fan of the vocals, as I thought they really honed in the tone of this track in a way that the production couldn't quite do on its own. The speed up was a little too forced and a touch sloppy, transitioning from dubstep into D&B at the end, but it's a minor gripe I have. Then we got Fox Stevenson with Road to Nothing. Another much more personal track from Fox that is more narratively driven than pure drum and bass, which I know will play really well into the final track list of whenever this upcoming record will release. But yeah, as a standalone track though, I thought this was probably the weakest of the singles released so far. Then we got Mr. Fiji Ouija with To Me. Fiji back with a more heavily trip-hop leaning track rather than his more typical garage, and this is definitely the strongest of all the tracks he's released this year. His synth runs are back, the production is hoppier than ever, and it feels like he's really found a groove again with this one. Then we got Au5 and Psyuri with Muted from the new Earthwave EP. The most atmospheric of all the tracks from this EP, with an at times somber piano and faint vocal humming. Quite the beautiful track despite it having an atypical structure, but one that really complements the other 4 tracks, especially considering that this is the closer to the whole project. Then we got Have and Laminar with Shanti, another hit from Have and Laminar as they combine for high-intensity, crushing dance floor drum and bass with an Arabian flair across the whole thing. These two artists have been on a roll, and they seemingly aren't slowing down anytime soon. Then we got Wilkinson, Camo and Crooked, and Maphis featuring Alara with Lose Control. Stellar collaborative track from these artists. This track is pretty much peak drum and bass production all around. The vocals are fantastic, the melody is infectious, and I love the relatively longer 4-minute runtime. And finally, our emerging artist spotlight of the week is Asian with Yerevan from the new Ghost Town EP. I'm really quite impressed with what I've heard from this EP so far, and this song in particular, Yerevan, is honestly great. It's a fun mixture of trap, dubstep, and bass house that is very much inspired by ISOXO and Knock 2. And to give it that instinctly kind of underground feel, it's not really bogged down by any one genre or style. I'm really excited to hop into some more Asian soon. But that's been This Week in EDM. Let me know what you think of any and all songs in the comment section below. But other than that, I'm Dakota from Bowtied Media, and I'll see you guys in another video.